Hello everyone, welcome to today's IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I will be your IELTS teacher for today's live session. Waiting for a couple people to join in just so we can do a audio and video check. So make sure you hear me and see me okay. Hi Khadija. Quite on time. You're very punctual. Every time there's a class, you're one of the first ones in, Khadija. Good for you. That's good study ethics. Just a quick check, girls and guys. Can you hear me and see me okay? Hello, everyone. Hi, Sitesh. Hi, Neo. Hi, Kira. Sadia. Utsav. Good to see you all. Everybody sees me? Yeah, thanks, Utsav, for that. Thanks, Neo. Awesome. So today, we are going to be looking at an IELTS writing task 1 and 2 from our test number 2. We have 6 of them on our websites. We're just updating our interactive tests too, so those will be quite useful and enjoyable. The materials are coming from our website, so if you're studying for academic IELTS, please visit us at aehelp.com. It's up here for you as well. And please visit us for general IELTS at gieltshelp.com. We have about 100 hours of video lessons in our full course on our websites, and if you join, do use our live streaming coupon code LIV20 for that 20% discount. Use the super chat if you want to give us some support through the chat stream. That's the little $sign beside the emoji in some of your countries there. If you want to book a live practice Skype IELTS speaking interview with me or another English professional, please do send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com or admin@aehelp.com. And of course, we're focusing on writing today, and there is writing and editing help available on our websites as well. Strongly recommend using that for students who feel that they are a little bit weak in the writing section. Very useful feedback for you from our editors. And comments. Okay, let's get right into it. So here we go. This is our test book number 1, and this is test book 2. Sorry, I should say this is our first book, and this is test 2. And this writing task 1 is a little bit different than what you're used to seeing. We've looked at maps, bar charts, pie charts, line graphs in previous lessons, so you can find a lot of videos about that on the website and on our YouTube channel, on this channel, so check that out when you have a little bit of extra time. One of the other types of task 1s that you can see in the academic IELTS is this one. Anybody know what this is called? Anybody know the name of this type of task 1? Give you a second there to give me the answer for that. That's right. It's a flowchart, and flowchart is usually a hyphenated word, so it's flow-chart. Usually we write it that way. So this is a flowchart type question, and they do appear in your IELTS academic exams from time to time, so it is a good idea to practice at least 1 or 2 of these before you sit your official test, so that you know how to write for this kind of a graph, okay? And of course, if you're a business student or for a lot of other majors like engineering as well, it's a good idea to know what to do with flowcharts. So when you see the graphic, the first thing, of course, that you should be aware of is what these are used for. So what are flowcharts used for? Anybody know what we use flowcharts for? Hi, everyone that's joining. I see that there are still a good number of people jumping into the class here. It's great to see. So what are flowcharts used for? When do we use a flowchart? Yeah, exactly. To explain a process. Flowcharts are used for depicting a process and connection among elements in a larger function or group or organization. Sure. So that's what flowcharts are used for. They're used for depicting a process. So as with all other task 1 essays, what type of an essay is a flowchart? Anybody know what kind of essay it is and which voice you should be using for your task 1 essay? Of course, in literature, there are 4 basic types of essays. Task 2 is what's called a persuasive essay, where you give an opinion or convince your reader. And there are 3 other types of essays. Anybody know what are the 3 other types of essays? Persuasive, again, that's task 2. Task 1, what type is that? And anybody know, just for interest's sake, what the other type of basic essays are in English? This is just some important information. If you don't know these, you should learn them. You can learn them from our website, but you definitely need to know what the basic essay types are in literature. And I think this is true not just for English, but for other languages as well. Persuasive is one. Persuasive does include argumentative, Kira. Argumentative is one type of persuasive essay, okay? There are different kinds of persuasive essays. Argumentative essay is a type of persuasive essay, but there are 3 other main categories or basic types of essays in English. Anybody know what those are? It's really important, because when you know the essay type, then of course you know what kind of language you need to use for that type of essay. Nope, discussion is not one type, Kira, but good on you for trying. I definitely appreciate students for trying. That's right, Abkar. Descriptive is one. Okay, descriptive is the type where you describe a picture, a location, an event, or something like that. I'm just going to make a note here for you guys that you know that persuasive, that's a task 2. You don't really have a descriptive essay in academic or general IELTS. That's right, Maria. Good for you. Narrative is another one. Narrative, of course, is the storytelling. So narrative essay is one that tells a story. Okay, and then what's the 4th kind? And the 4th kind is the one that you use for task 1. Okay, so narrative is storytelling. A journal would be a narrative type, Kira, so that fits into narrative. Short story would also be a narrative. You're very welcome, Evan. I'm glad you're getting some good help from the YouTube lessons. It's great. So everybody else, join up, subscribe like Evan, and you can also get some help there. Not factual, Kara, but you're kind of on the right track. Anybody know what the 4th kind is? All right, let's jump into it. I don't want to keep you suspended. It's called an expository. And that's task 1 in IELTS, okay? So girls and guys, I strongly, strongly recommend that if you don't know these 4 types of essays, please do some research on your own on the internet and become familiar with the details of each of these 4 basic types of essays in English. It's very, very important for your studies. So if you're not familiar with these 4 basic types of essays, learn them at home. You will save a lot of headache and a lot of scores, not just in IELTS, but in your university and school studies too, okay? I'm doing well, Aaron. Thank you for that. All right, so learn them at home. Do some research on these. All right, so remember that. There's persuasive, descriptive, narrative, and expository. Now, expository essays, so that's task 1. That's what we're looking at first, and then task 2. Expository essays seek to explain an idea, function, or process, okay? So that's kind of a very basic explanation. Again, you can find a lot more online about that. But expository essays seeks to explain an idea, function, or process. They don't argue and they don't describe necessarily in as much detail as a descriptive, and they do not tell a story like a narrative, okay? So there are also three basic voices of the author. Again, these split into more, but there are three voices of the author, and it's one of the big mistakes that students make in IELTS is they don't know this rule in writing, the three voices of the author, and they mix it up, okay? Never mix voices. In one essay. That's just generally a bad rule, that's just a bad practice, and it's a rule that many students break. So this is a very common mistake for IELTS students, not just IELTS students, but a lot of students make these mistakes, but of course here we're focusing on IELTS. So never mix these voices. The question here, and Hike, just to keep you on track here, we're doing a task 1, task 2 essay. What are the three voices? So what's the first voice of the author? First person, yeah. First person is for the persuasive, Hadil, so very good. You're following lessons, you know what's going on, and that's going to make your life a lot easier on IELTS and in school. So it's called the first person voice, very easy. Okay, it means you speak as yourself. And you use words like I, me, myself, and so on, okay? And of course, logically, the next one is second person voice. And here you write directly addressing your reader. Okay, it means you speak to your reader. You, yours, yourself. Okay, and to be more specific, one of the big mistakes in IELTS is students write you and your in their essay, and they also use it too much in speaking. They say you should, and you are, and you can, and when you. That's not good, girls and guys, okay? So if you want to save yourself some IELTS scores and get a higher band, stay away from the second person voice in both your writing and your speaking, okay? This is not a good voice to use on IELTS, and is usually not used in academic writing. Okay? It's very rare that we want to speak directly to our listener or to our audience because we don't know who they are. We don't know their life. We don't know their experiences. So you don't want to make assumptions like you should be careful when taking your children to the park. What if somebody doesn't have any children? Why are you giving them that advice? It doesn't make sense, okay? So that's a very common mistake, is the you and yours. Please do not use you, yours, yourself in the IELTS, okay? Avoid that, all right? And then, of course, the next one is what's called the third person voice. And the third person voice is the objective voice without you, I, and so on. It uses general nouns like people, companies, society, they, one, and so on, okay? So here you write in a way that can apply not just to yourself and not just to your reader or your audience, but to people in general. So this is the third person voice. So just to give you a good idea of what you're actually doing here, so think about it this way. Task 1 is expository essay in third person voice, okay? You don't use you and I and me and my in your task 1 writing, okay? Task 2, you use a persuasive essay in first person voice. I know sometimes students say, oh, my teacher said to use third person voice for task 2. Usually not a good idea, just because when you look at the question for task 2, it asks for giving your opinion, including examples from your life, your experiences, your knowledge. So when you're asked directly to include that kind of information, it would be me, myself. All right, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now, we are going to look at task 1. So task 1 is our, this is for academic if you're asking me, Hadil. This is not for general IELTS. General IELTS, you write a letter. So please make note that I'm talking here specifically about academic IELTS. General IELTS we're not doing today, but for general IELTS, definitely you use the second person and the first person voice sometimes, depending on the letter that you're writing. Okay, a letter is different. A letter is a narrative. Narrative essays will use both first and second person, especially when you're writing a complaint letter or something like that. So that's different. Don't confuse those, girls and guys. All right, so having said that, let's jump back to our question here. So here we have our question. And these questions are kind of nice. So if you get a flowchart type question, then you're in luck because they are one of the easier task 1 academic questions, especially if you know what you're doing. Of course, your first steps, you look at the question itself. So here we can see, I'll make it a little bit bigger for you there so the font's a little more visible for you. There you go. So here you can see the question saying the chart below shows the hierarchical means the down up or up down structure of a marketing company. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so very easy here. We look for our points of comparison. We can go about this a couple different ways, but there's definitely an easy, logical way to go through this. All right. Yeah, I'll do a general module sometime in the future, Hadil, but it's not on the roster right now. So here we want to make a division here first. So this is what we want to talk about first. Then we can go down this path here next. And of course, this is our third step here, our fourth step here, and then we can jump back here for a fifth, and then that concludes that chart. So my points of comparison, and that's what you want to look at before you start writing, just like for a line graph or a bar graph, look at your main points of comparison and contrast. And here we can see that my logical flow, it's a good idea to go 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the main branches. These are the single branches here. So that makes sense to do that. I hope that that is clear for you, okay? So this will be kind of our first sentence for analysis. This will be our second. This will be our third, our fourth, and our fifth. This is for the analysis part. Now, for the overview, okay, for the overview, I'm going to look at the more general information here. So for the overview, I'm going to look at, and I'm just going to put a big O1. So I'm going to look at the number of people in this management and executive. So in these higher level positions, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have 8 high-level positions in this company. I can include that in my overview. What else can I include in my overview, girls and guys? You tell me. What else would be another good piece to include in my overview? These points, again, are my analysis. That will be my body. This will be my overview, that we have 8 positions, 8 high-level positions in the company. What else would be good statement to add to the overview to make this a nice high band 8, band 9 essay? How many males and females? Maybe. I don't know if that's too important, the gender. You could break it into saying that there's a good gender ratio in the company, or there's a mix of genders in the company. Sure. That's right, vegan. Good. Vegan. Good for you. Yeah, that's some good critical thinking. So look at that structure. You can see that it's 3 tiers. So there's 3 levels of management here. So we have level 1, level 2, and level 3, right? So we have 1, 2, 3 levels of management in this company. Excellent. So this is a good point for the overview, that you have 8 people working in these 3 levels of management. All right, great. So it looks like we're ready to start writing, and that's what we're going to do. Of course, in the real IELTS, you want to be nice and fast doing this. I'm going to erase these points for now. I think they're fairly simple to remember as we work through. So keep these in mind. And let's begin our response. 150 words, you have 20 minutes. Don't spend any more time because it's worth 1/3 of your mark, and task 2 is worth 2/3 of your mark. So only spend 20 minutes on this one, okay? So here's the overview. You don't need to write overview in the actual exam, all right? That's just for notes here. So in the overview, first things first, let's use the question. So it says here the chart. I want to be more specific, so I want to say flow chart, okay? And the hierarchical structure of a marketing company. What's another way to say marketing company? Anybody? What's another way to say marketing company? And you can pronounce it a couple different ways depending on if you're using British or American pronunciation. That's right, Utsa. Very good. An advertising firm. The flow chart depicts the structuring of an advertising or advertisement firm. Oops. Okay, an advertising firm. And what does it include? It includes the names and the positions of the upper level management. The graphic includes the names and positions of 8. You can write the number like this in task 1 to keep it simple. Position of 8 different upper management level let's keep it a little bit more detailed. Upper level executive and management employees. Okay. And then here, our second point for the overview that we mentioned, that we can see all 3 tiers of management here. So at first glance, it becomes evident that these employees are divided into 3 tiers of control. All right, that looks good. So that's enough for the overview there. Now we can continue on with the body paragraph. So with the body paragraph, we mentioned starting from the top, and that makes sense. I definitely don't recommend starting from the bottom. It's possible, but it's much more confusing. Thank you for that correction there, Utsav. I agree with you on that. Different word, right? Okay. So, what can we say about that first position? What can we say about that first position? Anybody? What would be a nice way to start that first sentence? I'll jump back to the graphic here. What would be a nice way to start the first sentence about this position? Yeah, the head of the company. Anybody a little bit more creative? Here we go. Check this out. And again, if some new vocabulary comes up here for you, please have a pencil and a paper beside you. Write down the vocabulary, especially leading expressions that I'm using, and make sure to review those and learn those. So at the top of this company's corporate ladder is the CEO and president. Mr. Dobbs. Okay. Now, that's our first sentence there. Let's go into our second point, which is mentioning these three individuals and then funneling this way into this section here. Okay, so let's mention the next three. What's a good way to mention the following sentence? We said that we should come here for number 2. So how can I continue and connect? Okay, here you really have to be coherent. And it's the one tricky part of flowcharts is to make sure that you're using good language to be coherent with your connections. Yeah, Utsav, that's a good way to say it. There are 3. And you can even start it the other way. Under the CEO or under Mr. Dobbs, let's say CEO, there are 3 more positions. 2 of which are executive. Notice how this is an executive position and this is an executive position. And this one is a vice president of marketing. So it's a little bit different. 2 of which are executives. Or here we should say 2 of whom, since we're talking about people, or 2 of who are executives. And that would be Mr. Tremblay and Mr. Gartner. And one of whom is the vice president of marketing. Mr. or Miss Fields. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to the details that you see on these graphs. So notice that you have 2 executives and you have 1 vice president. Okay, all right, so now we want to funnel down here. Can anybody give me a nice sentence to explain Mr. Tremblay and his connection to these 2 individuals? Yeah, and I see some good comments going up there about those positions. Absolutely. Don't be shy, girls and guys. Throw up your answers. There is no mistake. If you make a mistake, it's fine. That's why I'm here. I can give you feedback and correct while you're writing. And you can use the word boss or senior to indicate those connections. So Fatima, throwing the word boss out there is a good idea. So we're looking at the connection between Mr. Tremblay, the sales executive, and these 2 characters here, Mr. Smith and Mr. Namath. Yeah, vegan, that's a good way to say it. There are 2 subordinates working under Mr. Tremblay. Next, there are 2 subordinates working under Mr. Tremblay, both of whom are sales managers. Notice something interesting that in this task 1, it's important to know your adjective clauses. Sales managers, and your comma use is very important here. Mr. Smith and Mr. Namath. All right, great. Chennai, that's good too. Mr. Tremblay is supervising 2 subordinates. Another nice way to start that sentence. Excellent. Yvonne? No, Yvonne, your question, it's sometimes in the academic IELTS. It's less common than the other types of graphs and charts, but it does sometimes come up. So you could see it. That's right. Vegan's answering the question as well. The associating personnel under Mr. Tremblay. I see your comment there. AME. That's good too. That's also a good way to start it. So some nice responses there. All right. Now we want to continue with this position here. Mr. Robbins, the summer intern, working under the Vice President of Marketing. And we can also come into this one here after very smoothly with Miss Clark, the Advertising Manager, working underneath the Advertising Executive, Mr. Gartner. So let's try to include those sentences. Let's go with this one first. Give it a shot, everyone. Try it out on your own before I give you these answers. So make this connection here, and then make this connection here. Anybody? Give it a shot. I'll let you know if you're doing it right or doing it wrong, and I'll even correct it for you. Assistant could be a good way to describe the position of the intern, because an intern definitely does a lot of assisting. So under Miss Fields come Mr. Robbins, who is a summer intern. Yeah, and I would probably include Vice President there. So Ms. Robbins, the summer intern, reports directly to the VP of Marketing. Okay, yeah, that's a nice way to say it, so I'll use that one. Thank you for that one, Akbar, sorry for my bad pronunciation there. So, furthermore, Miss Robbins, the summer, nice use of commas, by the way, there too. Good job with that. The summer intern reports directly to the VP of Marketing. And good for you for even shortening up Vice President. No need to keep repeating those words. On the other wing of the company, and here you can do somewhat the same for the advertising manager, right? So can somebody do that one? I'll read a couple of the other ones while you think about a nice way to connect these two here. Miss Robbins, who works as a summer intern, is under the VP of Marketing. Sakuna, that's great. Charnmeet, Miss Robbins, summer intern, works underneath, not under beneath, underneath the instructions of the VP, Miss Fields. That's a good one too. Just watch your grammar there a little bit and watch your word choice. Underneath. Okay, one word, underneath. All right, so how about this last one? We could use one of those ones and just adapt it to this one. How about I use yours, Charnmeet, with the corrections? So, Miss Clark, the advertising manager, works underneath the advertising executive. Mr. Gartner. Okay, good. Lots of information there. That's good so far. Now we can have a summary, all right? And anybody want to give me a summary here? What would be a good summary for this? In summary, yeah, I don't know if she checks the work, Vegan, so careful not to make assumptions on what's going on. Now let's go for the summary. What would be a good summary here? Look at the different types of positions. Look at the size of each of the branches of the company, and that could give you an idea of what would make a good summary. Yeah, that's one of the things, I'm going to just highlight that because you're not the only one. A lot of students, what they'll do in task 1 is they'll make assumptions that's not included in the graph. You've got to be really careful about that because in IELTS you can actually lose points for that if you make assumptions. This is an expository essay, and one of the main features of an expository essay is you expose or explain only the information that is given or visible or easily inferred from the graphic or the display or whatever you're looking at, whatever you're explaining. Okay, so here, have a look. What would be a good summary for this? Anyone? In summary, the 3 main branches of this company are separated into what? I don't know about that, Sardan. I think you're making a lot of assumptions there. But keep it simple. Look, there's 3 branches really. You have marketing, you have sales, and you have advertising, right? So there are obviously 3 key branches to this company. One of them falls into the advertising portion, one of them falls into the sales portion, and one of them falls into the marketing portion. We can assume maybe that this has to do with the actual advertising part of the company itself, or maybe, and then this is the actual marketing work, and this is the sales for the company, right? So, in summary, the 3 main branches of this company are separated into marketing, sales, and advertising. Now, advertising and marketing generally are the same, but because this is an advertising company, we can assume or infer that they mean different things in this case, all right? As well, these 3 branches, and I'm using what you just wrote up there, Sakuna, because I think that was a good observation to make. These 3 branches are, I don't know how to spell that word, but it's a good one, mitigated. Kind of means controlled by 7 upper level staff who report to 1 CEO. Okay, good. So that's fine, and that will work. That will definitely get you a nice high score, quite possibly a 9, definitely an 8. Let's have a quick review of it, make sure it's okay. This flowchart depicts the structuring of an advertising firm. The graphic includes the names and positions of 8 different upper executive management employees. At first glance, it becomes evident that these employees are divided into 3 tiers of control. At the top of this company's corporate ladder is the CEO and president, Mr. Dobbs. Under the CEO, there are 3 positions, 2 of whom are executives, Mr. Tremblay and Mr. Gartner, and one of whom is the vice president of marketing, Ms. Fields. Next, there are 2 subordinates working under Mr. Tremblay, both of whom are sales managers, Mr. Smith and Mr. Namath. Furthermore, Ms. Robbins, the summer intern, reports directly to the VP of Marketing. On the other wing of the company, Ms. Clark, the advertising manager, works underneath the ad executive, Mr. Gartner. In summary, the 3 main branches of this company are separated into marketing, sales, and advertising. As well, these 3 branches are mitigated by 7 upper-level staff who report to 1 CEO. Fantastic. That will definitely work, and that will get you a good score. All right, anybody curious about the word count? Any guesses how many words that is? What do you think? Anybody want to take a guess at how many words that could be? $155, $160, $180. Remember, it's $150 minimum, so you definitely want to get that far. Definitely want to get at least 150. If you don't get 150 words, you start losing band scores. So you got to get to 150. Let me just check it out for you, and we'll have exact number. It is exactly 168 words, okay? So that's 168 words. So we're 18 words above the task minimum. That's great. So we don't lose anything there. This is the overview, this is the body analysis, and then I included a summary for your answer there, the panomic. All right, so that's how we are so far. That's task 1. Now, you'll realize if you're here from the beginning of the class and you can watch how much time has elapsed, that we are at 40 minutes. So we did this in twice the amount of time that is allowed. But do remember that I gave you lots of explanations. I was talking to you. I was addressing your questions. I gave you at least 10 minutes, if not more, of advice on different kinds of essays and different voices of the author. And I gave you, of course, some advertising pitch about joining us at IELTShelp.com for general IELTS and AEhelp.com for academic IELTS. So again, you can see lots of examples of these kinds of Task 1, Task 2 essays on our website. And you can see a sample answer as well. I can try to check that out for you. Let me try to guess that page. I think I might have it here somewhere. It's going to be around page 205. Let me see. All right. So you can see an alternate essay for this, okay? Just give me a moment to locate it here. We have answer keys for Task 1, Task 2 for speaking, and of course even all of the answers for the reading and listening, but we show you where those come from. Okay, here is an alternate answer from our book. Okay, this is also showing you another way that you could write a response to this Task 1. Let's just go through it just so you can see it. Again, have a quick look at the picture again, especially for those of you that are hopping on. Or actually, sorry, I'm not going to go back to the picture. Let's just read this because I don't want to scroll away. All right, here we go. So here's an alternate answer. The chart shows the structure and positions of a marketing company. The company has 8 employees on 3 different levels. The chart is broken into 3 levels. The top level consists of the president and CEO. The middle level consists of the executives, while the bottom level consists of managers and the summer intern. In total control is the president and CEO of the company. Under him, there is the vice president of marketing, the sales executive, and the advertising executive, who each answer to him. These 3 second-level employees each have people who report to them. The summer intern reports to the vice president of marketing. The 2 sales managers report to the sales executive, while the advertising manager reports to the advertising executive. The way the chart is organized indicates that the hierarchy applies only to the employees on the same line. That is, the sales manager is responsible to the sales executive and the president, but not the vice president of marketing. From this chart, it is obvious that the marketing company has a clear structure in place which informs employees who they are responsible to and who is responsible to them. So notice that this response here is a fair bit different from ours. They don't mention the name as much as we do. They report some other information about the connections between the employees, but this too would also get a band 8 or 9. All right? And yes, it would be okay not to mention the names if you can write this type of essay. All right? If you can write it in that way, absolutely, you'd still get a very, very good mark. Okay, so that is task 1. And without further ado, I know many of you students, especially the general IELTS students, are patiently waiting for task 2. So I'm going to jump to that one now. Let me see if I can get there. All right. Okay, there's our answer sheets in our book and our speaking section. I'm going a bit backwards here, and here is task 2. All right, so this is our task 2 question for today. Before I start task 2, any questions about task 1? Is anybody curious about any part of task 1 that we just covered? Give you a second there to respond to that. I don't want you to feel like I'm rushing through that one. Sakib says start over. Yeah, I'll be starting with task 2, which is basically like a fresh topic and lesson for you, Sakib. So don't forget that this is recorded. So if you missed the first part of the lesson, you can watch it again on this channel after we're done, or the lesson about 20-30 minutes after. You'll see it live on you'll see it on our channel recorded. Should you leave space in task 1? That's a good question, Amarwadi. Yes, you should be careful with your spacing. Definitely give yourself room so that if you need to make corrections, then you can do it without creating a mess and it's still clear, all right? Hierarchical structure is ordered organization, or ranked organization would be another way to say hierarchical structure. And again, remember, Sakuna, if you're really curious about synonyms, throw those words into a thesaurus, and I'm sure the thesaurus, with its wide resources, will be able to give you some words. Structure, of course, organization would be a one way. Hierarchical, a little bit more tricky. No, Amarwadi, you do not need to write a title for task 2. Ame, that's a good question. Yeah, these days we generally suggest to students to write 3 paragraphs for task 1. So an overview, which is your introduction, and then the body, which is your analysis, and then a summary, which is basically what we can learn from the graph or the picture. All right? The website, if you're referring to our website, Sakuna, it's aehelp.com. It's in academicenglishhelp.com. That's for academic, or gieltshelp.com. If you're wondering about the thesaurus, that's not the name of a website. The thesaurus is a special type of dictionary that's used for finding synonyms and antonyms to words. Okay, definitely good to have that. You have that in Microsoft Word. I'll give you a quick demonstration of that. I just started using this 2016 version, so let me see if I can. Yeah, there it is. So if I go to my review in my Microsoft Word, then at the top here where you have word count, you have a little book with the word thesaurus beside it, and that's what you can use to figure out words. So here I'll give you a demonstration here. It is important. Okay, so there's hierarchical. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that word, and then in my review I'll go to thesaurus, and when I type it in, let me see. It's quite small here, of course, because I'm using very big font in the regular lesson there. But it says hierarchical, and then it says ranked, graded, tiered, ordered, classified, categorized. Okay, so those would be synonyms for the word hierarchical. All right, girls and guys, so let's waste not, want not. Let's get into writing task 2. All right, writing task 2, you should spend no more than 40 minutes on this task. Write about the following topic. Are higher taxes or lower taxes better for society? Give reasons for your answer. Include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. So here, you should be thinking, do I pay a lot of tax? Do I pay a little tax in my country? Is that good for me? Is it bad for me? what's going on. Of course, step number 1 is make sure you understand the question. It's a nice, clear question here, so that should be pretty good. We are talking about higher and lower taxes. It's a comparison here. Which is better? So it's a choose one kind of question. And that's what we want to do. So first of all, we want to make sure that we know what we're writing about. Of course, here that is the topic, right? So what is the topic in this case? Okay, what is the topic? Yeah, sometimes vegan, it's not a long question. It's just a short question. So all you really need to do is understand it and begin writing. So it's not, oh yeah, it's tax, Fatima. That's right. Okay, tax is our topic. Controlling idea. Lower or higher taxes are better. Okay, now be careful here. Just because the question's simple, it could still be difficult. Make sure that you're focusing that the question's asking you which one's better, not which one's worse. Do not write an essay about which one's bad. So it's easy to make mistakes, not with your English, but with your thinking. And if you make a thinking mistake, it is a mistake. I've seen students answer this question, and most of their essays is writing about high taxes are really bad for society, or low taxes are really bad for society. If you write about that, your mark will go... And even if you have amazing English, you won't get anything higher than a 4 or a 5. Why? Even a 4 or 5 is actually the IELTS people just being generous and kind and saying, hey, look, your English is good, but you kind of missed the question. You just wrote a whole essay about bad taxes. The question here is, which are better? So make sure you focus on that, okay? Students do make these silly, massive mistakes that cost them marks. So lower or higher taxes, which is better? That's your controlling idea. Now, of course, we do some critical thinking here. So what is a tax? And this one, really important to do some critical thinking. So what are taxes? What is a tax? Crashed plane, that's right. It's a tariff, spelled T-A-R-I-F-F, hike. Not that I'm a great spelling king or anything. I make my own mistakes, but I know that ones were spelt a little bit different. It is a tariff, but what is it? What is actually a tax? And you have to think about this. So just because you saw a short question, don't start writing right away. That's not going to work. Revenue generated by the government from the public. Nice way to say it there, Chandni. Okay, so revenue for the government generated by or from the public. Work and business, right? And sales. Taxes are everywhere, all kinds of taxes. Those are just a few kinds, but definitely generated from the public. Work, business, sales. Why do we do it? Why do we have tax? So why do governments need this money? Why have tax? Yeah, it's money that we pay to the government, that we have to pay. It's mandatory. That's going to be the how, right? Yeah, it's a certain percentage of the income. But why do we have it? Don't forget the why question. That's a really important one here. To feed the government. Shazad. Now, careful here, girls and guys. Of course, it's easy to get emotional and sentimental about answering this why question, but try to keep it as objective and as factual as possible. So, Vegan says to keep public services going. Very good. Yeah. Social improvements. Yeah, absolutely. Pay the government. Right? Government employees. Okay. All right. Yeah, infrastructure. Some other quick ones. Infrastructure, law and order, military, research. Okay, so all of those can be funded from taxes. Education, right? So that is going into the how. So mandatory payment made by the public, certain percentage of income. This is then redistributed. To schools, hospitals, space program, and so on. Okay, so you get the idea. You don't need to go into too much detail there. All right, now we get to the controlling idea. Which is better, higher or lower taxes? This is where you make your decision. So which is better, lower taxes or higher taxes? What do you think? What do you think is the easier answer here? Okay, Litton says, or Hike says higher. Nargiza says lower. Yvonne says lower. Arnaldo, good to see you joining the class, saying lower. Panomic says higher. Okay, so notice here that when you're looking at the chat, a lot of different answers are coming up. About half of you are saying higher, half of you are saying lower. This is an interesting question because I would say that probably both of these are fairly easy to argue. So there are very strong points for both of these essays, okay? So in both of these cases, there are some really, really strong arguments about which one is better and why. So we could argue that lower taxes are better for some reasons, and we could argue that higher taxes are better for some reasons. It's up to you to decide in this case. If you live in a country with lower taxes and you think that that works really well and you have a couple of good reasons, then write about that. If you think that it's better with higher, then write about that. So 50-50. So when it's 50-50, decide which is easier for you to write about, okay? It's rare, but it does happen, okay? So can somebody give me a thesis for lower taxes? Okay, somebody give me 2 points. Why are lower taxes better? Again, I don't suggest writing about both sides. If you try to write about both sides, you will get confused, or a much bigger or better chance that you'll get confused, and your writing will be a lower quality. So I absolutely suggest that you do choose one side, stick to that one side, and use 2 points for your body paragraphs. So in my opinion, lower taxes are better because, okay, why? Why is it better? Give me 2 clear points about why lower taxes are better. Chennai, that might be a tricky one to explain, to reduce burden on the public. Economic stress, all right, sure, if you can explain it, sure, because it reduces economic stress on citizens. And what else? Sure, so those are all the same points. So we're looking for a second point here. Remember, your thesis has to have 2 clearly separate points. So in my opinion, lower taxes are better because it reduces economic stress on citizens and... Yeah, that's a good one, Arnaldo. Keep the power to do business. Yeah, businesses like lower taxes. increases. Now, we have to keep a parallel grammar form here, so make sure that when you write your second form, or the second point, it's the same grammar form. So here we have reduces economic stress on citizen, increases benefits for businesses. So something like that, okay? So here would be a good thesis for lower taxes are better, okay? How about higher taxes? Thesis 2. In my opinion, higher taxes are preferable because what? Now remember, you can say attracts foreign investment as well. Absolutely. Increases benefits for businesses. That would be something that you'd want to write about in your body paragraph 2 for sure. In my opinion, higher taxes are preferable because it allows for what? Give me 2 good points. Allows for more resources to develop social services. And what's another one? Okay, Amir, I would say that that's too specific. You'd want to keep that for your body paragraph. So it allows for more resources to develop social services and what else? More finances to balance social equality. Okay, so something like that, all right? That would be a good way to maybe create your thesis for the side of higher taxes, okay? So in these two, you could go both ways. You could go higher taxes, you could go lower taxes. Just make sure you're clear on what you choose. Make sure you have 2 clear points in your thesis for your body paragraphs, and then you can start writing the body. Now, I'm not going to do that today. Instead, what I'm going to do is show you the answer key for this and show you what we have already here. So we don't need to go through step by step here. Let me see if I can find the answer key for you, and then I'll show you what one side looks like, and I'll give you the other side to challenge you as homework. I believe we were roughly on page 200 for the answer keys. Okay, let me see here. Just bear with me one moment. Okay, that's the answer key for the speaking section, and that means that the writing is right here. Okay, let me get that font a little bit bigger for you. There we go. All right, so here we're going to go through this nice and fast. This is coming out of our test book 1, test 2, and here's a sample response of a student that would score a nice high band. So this, of course, is their introductory paragraph. First is the hook. Taxes are an unfortunate but necessary part of every society. They have been around since the days of ancient Egypt, and certainly they are a part of society today. Some beautiful background there. While common people do not have a choice of whether to use or not use taxes, they may choose to vote for lower or higher tax structure. So that's some good background there of why it's important, okay? Even though there are certain benefits to a higher tax structure, I believe a lower tax structure results in greater benefits for society. So clearly, in this case, the student is writing about lower taxes. They have an indirect thesis, so they don't tell us why yet. I recommend that in the official IELTS, you try to do a direct thesis where you do give each of your points in the thesis for the body paragraphs, okay? So that would be a good introduction for this essay. Now, continuing on with the body here. A person who earns money should receive that money. That's a very nice topic sentence for that argument of paying lower taxes. A person who earns money should receive that money. That is the core belief behind lower taxes. Individuals who earn money should be able to spend that money the way they want, not how the government feels they should spend it. So here it's very clear that the student is arguing that lower taxes are better because it allows the person earning the money the choice of where to spend it. By giving money to the government, people who actually earn money are paying to support those that do not earn money. Obviously, hardworking individuals often find this unfair. Taxes are necessary in order to pay for roads and the army, for example, but taxes should not go towards subsidizing people who are too lazy to get jobs. Wow, that's a very hard and strong opinion, but hey, that is the opinion of some people who work very hard to earn their money and then they have to pay a lot of that money to tax. So good argument there. And a good example there with the roads and the army. Okay? All right, let's look at body 2. Lower taxes provide a large incentive for businesses. Look at that, exactly what we're talking about, to operate and be successful. Prosperous businesses provide jobs and result in more people who are able to make money and not depend on the government. Nice explanation telling us that low tax is good because it creates business, business creates jobs, jobs create money for people. If higher taxes are implemented, businesses seek out places to operate where tax structure is more favorable. I believe one of the students said this when I was asking about that earlier. When this happens, jobs are lost and more people are left to take money from the government and consequently from the people who are actually making money. All right, clear there. Let's look at the conclusion. In conclusion, I believe that lower taxes are better for all society. They provide an incentive for people to get jobs, and those jobs are created by the positive business climate provided by implementing a lower tax structure. Very nice conclusion, very good way to re-strengthen the argument and paraphrase the main points. Taxes are inevitable, but they should be kept low so people can keep as much of their hard-earned money as possible. Nice take-home message, okay? So you can definitely do that with practice. That would get a nice high band score for sure. And now, here's your homework. Now, if I read that a little bit fast, don't worry. Again, in 20-30 minutes, this class will be available on our YouTube channel. You can look at it again so you can see all those different elements of the essay, introduction, body 1, 2, and conclusion, and also the different subparts, the thesis and the explanations, examples. So homework is write an essay that higher taxes are better for society. Email it to admin@aehelp.com and get a free score estimate, okay? If you send that to that email address, myself or one of my colleagues will read your essay and tell you what it's worth, roughly what you could expect for that on the IELTS exam, all right? So for homework, write an essay that higher taxes are better for society. Email it to admin@aehelp.com. That's ADMIN as in administration. So admin@aehelp.com, and we'll estimate your score for free. So we'll let you know, did you get a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9? So we'll do that for you. Ame, I wish you the best of luck in your exam tomorrow. Saisha, don't worry, you can watch this class a little bit later. It is recorded, so don't trip out. You'll be fine. Okay, girls and guys, any questions about task 2? Do you have any questions for me about task 2? Now is a good chance to throw some of your questions out there. You're very welcome, Hike. I'm happy to help. No questions? Nobody? Going once, going twice, thrice? Awesome. Okay, girls and guys, we will do speaking tomorrow. We'll look at the speaking example from our test book 1, test number 2, or exam number 2. You can get our books, 6 full books, from our websites, gieltshelp.com or aehelp.com when you join the full course. There are 80 videos there and a fully interactive course. We're doing a whole bunch of updates recently too, so you'll see a lot of new materials coming on board. I'll give you a look at that. That's what our academic IELTS website looks like. It's blue. You'll see my face there. And then that's what our general IELTS website looks like. It's green. So gieltshelp.com. General IELTS, aehelp.com for academic IELTS. Today's lesson was a little bit earlier. We are busy in the evening with a lot of other matters, but tomorrow it will be at 16:30 Central European Time. That's our usual class time for these live streams. So make sure you have a look tomorrow, 16:30. That's Central European Budapest time. So to improve your grammar, Shardor, start with the basics and build it up from the bottom up. Okay. Get professional editing feedback from our website. That's a really good way to improve your grammar. And make sure you keep reviewing your work. Yeah, find corrections. Okay, girls and guys, that's it for today. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you are having an exam this weekend, I wish you the best of luck. Make sure you get a good sleep. Try not to be too nervous. Stay calm. Okay, the sun will shine tomorrow. And I'm sure you'll do well. You have great brains. I wish you the best of luck again. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.